Welcome to Razonando la Fe, a space to reflect calmly on faith, history, and the questions many people carry in their hearts. Today, I want to begin with a question many believers have asked, but, few feel comfortable saying out loud. The whole story of Christianity, it really starts from a single foundational point. There was one teacher, Jesus Christ. And here's the thing, according to Christian tradition, that one teacher didn't just leave behind a bunch of ideas or a philosophy. No, he established a single unified community, one church. But if you just take a quick look around the world today, you see a completely different picture, don't you? We don't see just one body. We see thousands and thousands of different denominations. And that brings us right to the heart of it. If Jesus founded one church, why are there so many today? Now, this is not a question to create division. It is a question to understand our faith, our history, and what Christ truly intended. So let us take a deep breath. Let us speak with calm, respect, and honesty. All right, so let's really dive into this. When Jesus finished his mission here on earth, he didn't hand his followers a library of books he had written or a pre-packaged gospel. He did something totally different. He founded a visible, structured community of actual people. He set up a real, tangible group with a clear, visible leader. You see, this wasn't some abstract philosophy floating in the air. It was a living, breathing entity, a spiritual family that was meant to carry his mission forward in the world. And this is absolutely crucial. Jesus gave this community real authority, the authority to teach, to forgive sins, and he gave them a promise of his guidance until the end of the world. So the key takeaway here is pretty clear. The intention was for one church, one single spiritual family. So you have to ask, right? If the intention was for one family, where in the world did all these different denominations come from? Well, this is where the human element really enters the story, and that single path starts to fork. What's really so interesting here is the contrast. I mean, for centuries, Christians were incredibly united in what they believed and how they practiced their faith. But as you can see, over time, a mix of cultural differences, political pressures, and yes, new interpretations of Scripture, they all started to cause these fractures. The division wasn't part of the original blueprint at all. It was a result of messy human history. To make this a little less abstract, let's try a simple metaphor. I think it makes this whole history much, much easier to grasp. Just imagine a big, united family. For as long as all the children look to the same father for guidance, as long as they all gather around the same dinner table, they stay together. There's this shared identity, a common purpose. But what happens when the kids start interpreting their father's words differently? Or when they start to disagree on how the whole household should be run? Well, the family divides. And it's not because the father wanted it to happen, it's because the children just couldn't agree. And that right there is such a powerful parallel to the history of Christianity. This whole story of division, it becomes even more heartbreaking when you look at what the Bible itself has to say about unity. It wasn't just, an implied goal. It was an explicit command. I mean, Jesus himself prayed for it so clearly. In his final hours, his prayer to the Father was for his followers to be one. This wasn't some optional suggestion on a to-do list. This was a deep, profound desire right from the very heart of Christ. And the early church leaders, they echoed this message loud and clear. St. Paul hammered home this core truth: one Lord, one faith, one baptism. The original plan was never for every group to just go off and do its own thing. The vision was always of a single, unified body. Okay, so with all of this history, how should we approach these divisions today? I think our first instinct is often to argue, right? To debate, to try and prove who's right. But maybe there's a better, more constructive question we should be asking ourselves. Framing this whole thing as a debate about who won just keeps us locked in the past. It keeps us focused on the division itself. It's a question that just keeps the very separation we're trying to understand going. So, here's a thought. Instead of asking who is right, what if we asked this instead? Which groups today still conserve the original structure that Jesus established from the very beginning? Now, a question like that pushes us to look for the preservation of these original building blocks. Things like apostolic teaching, the succession of bishops, which just means an unbroken line of leaders that you can trace all the way back to the apostles, the sacraments, and a visible unified authority. And look, the point isn't about finding a group that has been humanly perfect. Goodness knows history shows that's not the case. It's about trying to identify where that original divine structure that Jesus himself put in place has been maintained. More than arguing about who is right, what truly matters is returning to the desire of Jesus: unity, communion, one spiritual family. Jesus did not dream of division. He dreamed of one body united in love and truth. Thank you for spending this time with me on Razonando la Fe. May this reflection help us seek unity, truth, and peace. I will see you in the next episode. And until then, I hope you can enjoy a good cup of coffee and allow God to gently illuminate your heart today.